Have you ever felt like something invisible is moving behind the events of your life? As if there were a hidden network, watching your every gesture, every choice, every thought you express? September is not just another month on the calendar. It's the beginning of a silent turning point, a point of no return where the battle between light and darkness ceases to be merely symbolic and begins to touch the depths of our souls. The hunt has begun, and it's not a metaphor. Forces that have always lurked in the shadows now walk among us disguised, wearing masks of kindness, offering easy solutions, seductive promises, and even smiles that seem welcoming, but hide a secret hunger, a hunger for your energy. These aren't ancient stories, legends, or forgotten prophecies. It's something you can already feel, in the silence of the night, in the feeling of emptiness after being with certain people, in the weight that enters your home without asking permission. The game is afoot, and if you don't wake up now, you risk being taken without realizing it. In September, a different wave will sweep through the field around us. It won't be seen in the newspapers, announced on screens, and much less recognized by those who choose to live with their eyes closed. But those who carry the light within will feel the call. They will feel as if they are suddenly being watched, as if something were stalking every movement, analyzing every gesture, waiting for an opening. This sense of surveillance won't be paranoia, but rather a reflection of what's really happening. The hunt for luminous souls, those who shine even in silence. You may have noticed that in certain environments, your presence unnecessarily bothers. People who have never spoken to you may show antipathy, unfounded criticism, and heavy-handed looks. This is no coincidence. It's the manifestation of dark forces that, upon noticing your different energy, try to extinguish your brilliance before it can expand. September will intensify this scenario. It will be the month when disguises become more convincing, when envy hides behind false compliments, and when the approach of people too good to be true becomes a carefully laid trap. This process doesn't just happen outside, but also within you, because the most effective way to hunt down a soul of light isn't by attacking head-on, but by sowing doubts, fears, and invisible fatigue. It's when you wake up feeling powerless, discouraged, with a feeling that nothing is worthwhile, even for no apparent reason. That's where the enemy infiltrates, in the tiredness of your mind, in the overload of your heart, in the moment you let your guard down, thinking you just need to rest. But it's precisely in this interval that they try to steal your essence. That's why recognizing the signs will be vital. September will be a month in which life will test your clarity. You'll need to learn to observe beyond words, beyond gestures, beyond the surface. Who approaches you? Who truly brings peace and who merely drains you in silence? This distinction will be the line between keeping your soul intact or allowing the shadows to dictate your path. Darkness presents itself not as a sworn enemy but as a friend in disguise, and that is the true danger. But there's a detail few realize. The hunt only happens because souls of light carry something that frightens the darkness. If you feel this persecution, it's not because you're weak, but precisely because you're strong. It's because your brilliance disturbs, because your energy opens paths, because your silence weighs more heavily than the cries of many. Being hunted is the greatest proof that you carry something they cannot fabricate, the authenticity of your spirit. And recognizing this will be your first defense in September. In September, the dark forces will not present themselves as frightening monsters or sworn enemies. Disguise will be their primary weapon. They will arrive smiling, offering help, extending a hand, as if they were the answer to your deepest doubts. But behind this gesture lies their true intention: to drain your energy, manipulate your confidence, and, little by little, dismantle your clarity. This strategy is ancient, but now it gains strength because time is short, and the light is expanding too quickly. The darkness can no longer waste time with open confrontation. It must conquer through seduction. Many will spot this disguise in seemingly simple situations: a sudden friendship that springs up without explanation, someone who seems excessively concerned about you, promises of easy solutions to pain you've carried for years. Nothing will come directly. Everything will be shrouded in a haze of good intentions. It's as if the enemy has learned to use your own language, your own emotions, to enter without you noticing. This will be the most dangerous mask, the one that dresses itself in light to extinguish the true light you carry. These forces know that fear drives away, but the promise of acceptance attracts. They will present themselves as that friendly shoulder that appears at the right moment, as that unexpected piece of advice that seems to come as an answer. However, if you look deeper, you'll notice something strange. an emptiness behind the words, a coldness disguised as care, an insistence that seems unnatural. The disguise is perfect for those who only look at the surface, but those who learn to listen to their hearts will be able to feel the difference. September will be the month of the most convincing illusions. It's as if the shadows have studied every human weakness, the desire for love, the quest for acceptance, the need to feel like you belong. They won't try to attack you head-on, but rather offer exactly what you want to hear. And this is where many will fall, into the trap of confusing neediness with true connection. You'll need more than ever to distinguish what nourishes your soul from what merely fills a momentary void. But know this, the fact that they need to disguise themselves already reveals their weakness. If they were that strong, they would come forward head-on. They wouldn't need to wear masks. It's precisely because the light within you is greater that they need to pretend to be something they're not. This is the clearest sign that you have something too valuable. So instead of being afraid, learn to use this knowledge as a shield. Those who don't fear disguise themselves, and those who need to hide already show they're at a disadvantage when faced with the truth. September's biggest trap won't be what happens outside, but what begins to stir within you. Because it doesn't take someone directly attacking you for your light to be weakened. It's enough that you doubt it yourself. The dark forces know this, and so the war isn't just external but above all internal. With every self-sabotaging thought, every feeling of worthlessness, every painful memory that returns unexpectedly, there's a seed planted for you to weaken yourself. It's as if instead of pushing you into the abyss, they simply create a voice inside your mind telling you it's not worth continuing. And you'll often believe this voice is your own, when in fact it's just a reflection of external influence. September will intensify these feelings. Sudden fatigue, unexplained discouragement, the feeling that you don't have the strength to continue what you started. These will be the clearest signs that the battle has already entered your innermost realm. But it's precisely at this point that you'll have the chance to transform persecution into strength, because every attack is also a test, and every test reveals your true resilience. You'll realize that instead of allowing yourself to be dominated by thoughts of weakness, you can choose to respond with silence, with focus, with the firmness of someone who knows the storm will pass. And when you do this, something curious happens. The energy they tried to steal from you returns multiplied, because you stop being a victim and become aware of your own strength. The battlefield within you will not be won by excessive fighting, but by the clarity that you don't need to prove anything. Dark forces will try to provoke you, fill you with doubts, but you don't need to respond to any of them. True victory happens in silence, because when you don't feed the voices of lies, they dissolve for lack of sustenance. September will be the month in which you learn the power of not reacting, the strength to remain centered even when everything around you tries to unbalance you. And therein lies the secret. The more you maintain your inner peace, the more evident it becomes who is truly masked around you. Silence is like a lamp that illuminates what was hidden. You won't need to seek proof of who is true or false. They will reveal themselves before you're calm. This is the part that the dark forces fear, that you discover that your greatest weapon is not reaction, but the power to remain firm within yourself, without surrendering your brilliance to anyone. September will bring to light an uncomfortable reality. Those closest to you aren't always truly your allies. Often it's precisely the most intimate bonds that become invisible chains, keeping your soul trapped in a cycle of pain and dependence. This happens because dark forces know the safest place to hide is within the relationships you value most. When a friend, partner, or even family member starts repeating words that undermine your trust, it's not just them speaking, it's a reflection of the energy that has found a channel to reach you there. These bonds become traps because they touch your deepest vulnerability, the desire to be loved and accepted. No one expects to be hurt by those they are supposed to protect, and it is in this clash that the power of darkness finds fertile ground. September will be a month of testing in this regard. You will become more aware of who genuinely rejoices in your light and who merely tolerates its presence as long as they can derive something from it. This distinction is painful, but absolutely necessary. It doesn't mean you need to cut all ties or live in isolation, but rather learn to see the difference between true love and disguised manipulation. True affection doesn't diminish you. It doesn't ask you to dim your shine so the other person feels comfortable. On the contrary, it encourages, strengthens, and celebrates your victories as if they were your own. False love, on the other hand, reveals itself in small actions, in constant criticism, in disdain disguised as a joke, in a lack of support when you need it most. September will make these differences impossible to ignore. That's why you need to courageously ask yourself, how many of your bonds are nourishing you and how many are silently draining you? This reflection may be painful, but it will be the key to your liberation. Dark forces feed on your inability to see the truth, and the longer you maintain relationships that weaken you, the more openings you offer for prey. The cut isn't just physical, but primarily energetic. When you decide to no longer surrender your essence to those who don't know how to care for it, you break the invisible chains that held your soul back. And in this process, you'll discover something powerful. Being free sometimes means disappointing those who never wanted you to truly shine. But this disappointment isn't your burden. It's merely a reflection of those who never knew how to value the light you carry. September will teach you that protecting your soul isn't selfish, but rather the greatest proof of self-love you can offer yourself. And when you learn to put yourself in this place, no disguised force can hold you back. There are times when words are the perfect trap. September will be one of those times. You'll often feel the temptation to explain yourself, to justify your choices, to prove your intentions are good. But each time you fall into this trap, you give away part of your energy to someone who doesn't deserve it. Silence, this month, will be a more powerful shield than any argument, because while you speak, the other person collects your words to use against you. But when you remain silent, the mask of the attacker falls away. Silence doesn't mean cowardice, but wisdom. It's the secret weapon against manipulation. Dark forces feed on conflict, on the emotion you express when you react. When you don't react, you break the cycle that fuels the darkness. In September, this will be more evident than ever. You'll see people trying to provoke you, waiting for you to lose control, to get heated, to say something that can be used as ammunition. But if you remain calm and simply observe, you'll realize that the enemy defeats itself. This silence is not empty but full of presence. It is the presence of someone who knows who they are, who doesn't need external validation, who understands that their light doesn't need to be proven. The silence that arises from awareness is like an invisible wall. No one can overcome it. And when you practice it, you begin to notice how uncomfortable the hidden forces become, as if they no longer know how to act in the face of someone who offers no openings. September will be the month in which silence becomes your most valuable armor. But be careful. True silence is not born of fear, but rather of trust. Some remain silent out of fear of confrontation, but this silence is still controlled by the enemy. The silence that protects is the one that needs no explanation, because it has already found peace within itself. It is not the fruit of weakness, but of the strength of those who refuse to allow themselves to be manipulated. And the more you practice this conscious silence, the more you will realize that the hunt for darkness loses strength in the face of your serenity. Remember that silence is not absence, it is presence multiplied. When you are silent, you allow your energy to speak for you, and this energy is impossible to disguise, impossible to imitate. Dark forces may try to mask themselves in 1,000 ways, but in the face of true silence, all that is false is revealed. September will be the month you learn that you don't need to shout to be heard, nor explain yourself to be understood. Your light speaks for you, and it shines brightest when the noise of the world fails to distract you. In September, it won't be just external events that reveal the intensity of the hunt for souls of light. Your body and mind will also begin to show warning signs. You may feel profound fatigue even after sleeping, have unexplained pain, or a strange pressure in your chest as if something were trying to stifle your breath. These symptoms are not mere coincidences. They are reflections of the invisible battle, proof that you are being attacked not with ordinary weapons but with an energy that seeks to weaken your spirit. The mind, in turn, will also become a battlefield. Thoughts you thought you had overcome may resurface with force. Painful memories, old insecurities, and fears you thought buried resurface, trying to occupy all the space in your consciousness. This isn't regression, but rather an attack. It's the dark forces' attempt to use your own memory against you, to trap you in internal prisons so that you forget the power you have in the present. September will be the month when many of these mental traps will appear as tests, and you will need to choose whether to sink into them or see them as trials to be overcome. The secret lies in understanding that these signs are not enemies, but summons. They don't come to destroy you, but to show you where there are still gaps in your inner strength. When you feel extremely tired, it's life asking you to nourish yourself more carefully. When heavy thoughts arise, it's a chance to face them head-on and finally release them. When your body aches, it's a sign that your energy is being drained and needs to be replenished. September will be the month of mindfulness. Either you learn to listen to what your body and mind are telling you, or you'll continue to feed what weakens you. It's important to remember that signs don't always come in grandiose form. Sometimes they emerge in small details. A sudden anxiety when near someone, a chill that doesn't make sense, an emptiness that grows when you enter a certain room. These details are secret maps, subtle revelations that show you where the darkness lurks. But to see them, you'll need to stop ignoring what you feel. September will be the month of sensitivity, and it won't be weakness, but rather the compass that points the way to your protection. When you begin to listen to what your body and mind reveal, you'll realize something powerful. The hunt isn't just happening outside, but within you, and each signal is an invitation to strengthen your light, to create invisible barriers that protect your essence. It's as if the universe itself places internal alarms within you that sound every time danger approaches. It's up to you to listen to these alarms, respect them, and learn to act consciously. September will not only be a month of resistance, but a month of awakening to the silent language that has always been within you. If there's one weapon the dark forces will use relentlessly this September, it's doubt. Because nothing weakens a soul of light more than self-doubt. When you begin to doubt your own intuition, your worth, your ability to discern right from wrong, you open the door for the enemy to enter unopposed. Doubt is like a crack in a castle, small, almost imperceptible at first, but enough to allow darkness to infiltrate and take over. You may notice this trap when you start questioning things that were previously clear to you. Am I overreacting? Is this person really who I feel they are? Is the energy I perceive real or just my imagination? These questions arise because the dark forces know that if you stop trusting yourself, you'll begin to give your light away to those who seem to know more than you. September will be the month when this silent war becomes more evident, and doubt will try to erode your confidence step by step. But there's an important detail. Doubt only has power when you forget the power of your own perception. Often the answer is already within you, but you choose to ignore it because you don't want to deal with the consequences. Trusting your feelings can mean distancing yourself from people, cutting ties and changing paths that seem comfortable. And that's precisely why doubt seems so seductive, because it keeps you stuck, preventing you from making decisions that could free your soul. September will be the month to break this inertia. By recognizing doubt as a trap, you begin to realize that it's not there to help you think better, but to paralyze you. True clarity never causes paralysis. It may even bring pain, but it also brings movement. Doubt, on the other hand, leaves you spinning in the same place, consuming energy without moving forward. It's like being in a maze built not of walls, but of thoughts that lead nowhere. And the more you feed this maze, the further you become from your own light. The solution lies in a simple yet powerful gesture, choosing to trust your feelings even when you have no external evidence. It's this choice that breaks the power of doubt. Because when you believe in yourself, darkness loses its main weapon. September will put you to this test again and again. And each time you choose to trust your intuition, you'll be reaffirming your strength, showing that you can no longer be fooled by masks or pretty words. Doubt will cease to be a prison and become simply a reminder that your truth has always been within you. In September, you'll see more clearly that darkness rarely presents itself as something repulsive. It doesn't arrive with the face of a sworn enemy, but disguised as someone who claims to be by your side. It's that friendship that seems genuine, but always carries a hidden weight. It's that advice that sounds like support, but deep down seeks to undermine your confidence. It's the embrace that seems warm, but leaves your energy drained soon after. This is darkness's most dangerous form, when it dresses in light to go unnoticed. The problem is that at first, it's difficult to spot this disguise. You might mistake apparent kindness for true connection and fall into the trap of trusting someone who never intended to care for it. The darkness knows that the more convincing its mask, the easier it will be to approach without arousing suspicion. September will bring situations where you'll ask yourself, why do I feel empty, even surrounded by people who seem to support me? This question will be one of the first signs that you're facing something that isn't what it seems. The secret lies in looking beyond the words and observing the effects each encounter leaves on you. A person of light always adds to your life, even in silence. You emerge from it lighter, more confident, more whole. A force masked as light may offer beautiful words, but it will always leave a trail of heaviness, insecurity, or exhaustion. This contrast will become increasingly clear in September, because time will no longer allow the truth to remain hidden. The disguise may be convincing, but the effects don't lie. The greatest challenge will be learning to trust your feelings, even when everything seems to indicate otherwise. The disguised darkness will do everything to convince you that you're wrong, that your intuition is flawed, that your impressions are nothing more than paranoia. But within you, the truth manifests itself like an insistent whisper that won't be silenced. And it's this whisper you'll need to hear, even if the world around you insists on silencing it. September will be the month when your intuition will be tested like never before. When you understand that darkness must disguise itself as light to survive, something changes within you. You stop feeling fear and start feeling clarity, because you realize that deep down, the enemy isn't as strong as it seemed. If it were, it wouldn't need to hide. This understanding is liberating. It shows that your light is greater, and that the disguise only exists because it bothers. September will be the month you learn that you don't need to fear false brilliance, because true brilliance is that which never needs masks to exist. With each passing September, the feeling that we are being tested grows stronger, and this will be a month in which the word resistance will take on new meaning. It's not just about bearing the weight of trials, but about taking a stand, about steadfastly standing your ground in the face of the storm. Resistance isn't passivity. It's an active act of choosing to stand when everything around you seems to want to knock you down. And that's exactly what the dark forces will try to prevent you from standing firm. This call to resistance will manifest itself in small, everyday choices. You'll feel like giving up on projects that have always been important, distancing yourself from people who truly do you good, abandoning yourself in moments of exhaustion. These feelings aren't random, but attempts to gradually undermine your strength. Resistance in these moments will be telling yourself, I won't give in, even if it's a small gesture, like getting out of bed when everything inside you tells you to stay in bed, or keeping your word when it would be easier to give up. But resistance also means learning to say no when everything around you is pushing for a yes. September will bring intense pressures, coming from people, situations, and even your inner thoughts. You will be tested to see if you truly know how to defend your limits or if you still give up your energy for fear of disappointment. True resistance will be found in the silence of refusal, in the courage to protect yourself, in the firmness of not giving in to what weakens your essence. The most fascinating thing is that when you decide to resist, something transforms within you. What once seemed like weakness reveals itself as strength. What once seemed like a burden reveals itself as training. Each time you resist, your light grows, and the darkness realizes it can no longer control you as it once did. That's why September will be seen as an invisible training ground. Each challenge will be an exercise in strengthening. Each pitfall will be an opportunity to show that you're not as vulnerable as you thought. This call to resistance is not just individual, but collective. When you resist, you inspire others to do the same. Your silence becomes an example. Your steadfastness becomes light for those still lost. Darkness may even try to isolate each soul of light, but when these souls begin to grow stronger, an invisible network is created, uniting distant points in a common purpose. September will be the beginning of this silent resistance that, little by little, will transform into the most powerful victory the light has ever known. September will be a month in which many will feel a different kind of loneliness, deeper than ever. It's not just about being physically alone, but about feeling like the world around you no longer speaks the same language as your soul. It's as if you're surrounded by people, yet there's still a void between you and them, an invisible distance separating your essence from the superficiality of others. This loneliness won't come to destroy you, but to reveal who you truly are. Loneliness at this moment will act as a mirror. It will reveal what you've long avoided, what you've hidden in distractions, empty relationships, and soulless commitments. When all this falls silent, you'll come face to face with your own truth. And this encounter can be painful, because we're not always prepared to hear what our soul has to say. September will be the month when this inner voice will be loudest, and ignoring it will be impossible. It's in this silence of solitude that you'll realize how much you've been relying on external things to survive. The presence of others, the praise, the hectic routine. All of this has always been an anesthetic for the pain of inner disconnection. But when these supports fade, you understand that there's only one source capable of sustaining your light: yourself. This realization will be liberating, even if it's accompanied by tears and profound questions. And then, Amidst this solitude, you will discover that you are not truly alone. Because when everything around you falls silent, you begin to perceive the subtle presence that has always been there, the silent breath of life, the energy that connects all things, the certainty that you are part of something much greater. This feeling is what seekers of light fear most, that you will discover that true companionship has never left. September will be the month in which you will understand that being alone is not empty, but full of self. This solitude, when accepted, transforms into power. It ceases to be a burden and becomes a shield, because no one can manipulate someone who has learned to find strength within themselves. Those who discover the richness of their own presence are not fooled by false brilliance, nor are they bound by bonds that only drain energy. September will show you that behind the fear of loneliness lies the key to your true freedom. In September, every choice you make will carry more weight than you imagine. I'm not just talking about big decisions, but also about small, almost imperceptible gestures that ultimately reveal which side you're on in this silent battle. The dark forces won't try to bring you down spectacularly, but rather wear you down with small concessions, with daily oversights that seem harmless, but, when combined, build an invisible prison around your soul. You can see this in the times you choose to remain in environments you know drain your energy, in the words you choose to swallow for fear of confrontation, in the moments you betray yourself by accepting less than you deserve. Each of these choices creates invisible threads that tie you to what weakens you. September will be the month when these threads become more evident, and you'll realize that every gesture counts, that there is no neutrality in this hunt. Either you protect your light or you leave room for it to be extinguished. But at the same time, every conscious choice will be a powerful weapon against the darkness. Saying no to something that no longer serves you, no matter how small, is like cutting an invisible chain. Deciding to walk away from someone who saps your energy, even if it seems painful, is like opening space for your soul to breathe again. Choosing silence over reaction, calm over haste, self-respect over the approval of others, all of this will be active resistance, even if no one sees it. These invisible choices aren't just individual, they reverberate throughout the entire field around you. When you choose to protect your light, you send a silent message that strengthens other souls of light. Your action creates ripples that reach people you don't even know, inspiring courage and clarity in faraway places. That's why September will be so decisive, because every soul that chooses to resist strengthens the invisible network that sustains the world's balance. In the end, you'll understand that there's no such thing as a small choice. Every gesture, every word, every silence, all add up as part of a great war that's fought not with weapons but with consciousness. September will be the month in which your choices will reveal who you truly are, and when you look back, you'll see that it was in the details, in seemingly simple gestures, that you built your silent victory over the disguised forces that tried to hunt you down. In September, an inevitable phenomenon will occur. Masks will begin to fall. No matter how convincing the darkness tries to be, no matter how perfect its performance, it cannot sustain the lie for long in the face of the force of truth. Disguises that seemed solid begin to crack, and you will see people revealing their true selves, not through what they say, but through what they reveal in their small gestures. This will be a time of revelation, and nothing will remain hidden for much longer. You'll notice this in everyday situations: a sly word that reveals contempt, a quick glance that betrays envy, an uncomfortable silence in the face of your victory. Darkness cannot hide when confronted by light, because its very essence betrays it. September will be the month when you won't need great proof to see, because the signs will be everywhere, like fragments of truth scattered along the path. It's up to you to piece together these fragments and accept what they're revealing. This revelation, however, can be painful. Often the masks that fall belong to people you wish were different. Seeing the true face of someone you trusted can be devastating, but at the same time, it's liberating, because while the illusion persisted, you were trapped in a narrative that didn't exist. When the mask falls, the pain is real, but it's also the beginning of healing. September will be the month you learn to be grateful for the truth, even if it hurts, because it is what sets you free. The most important thing will be to understand that when darkness reveals itself, you don't need to react with hatred or revenge. Simple clarity is enough to break the power of disguise. When you see the truth, the enemy loses strength because it can no longer manipulate your perception. And in that moment, you discover that your greatest weapon is lucidity, the ability to see without being blinded by appearances. September won't be about defeating enemies, but about seeing who they always were. This revelation of disguises will also be a form of selection, because by identifying who is truly by your side and who never was, you can finally build a circle of truth around yourself. And when lies no longer have space, the light begins to expand naturally, without resistance. September will be the month in which you learn that the greatest victory is not exposing others, but freeing yourself from the illusions that imprisoned you. As all the trials of September intensify, something new will be born within you. The realization that your strength never depended on what was outside. True power has always been in your ability to stand firm, even when everything around you tried to bring you down. This awakening will be like a silent fire beginning to burn in your chest, a flame that needs neither applause nor witnesses, because it simply exists and is enough to illuminate everything around it. You'll realize you no longer need to chase external validation or justify yourself to be accepted. True strength comes from understanding that your light can't be stolen, only hidden for a time. And when you discover this, everything changes. Criticism no longer weighs as heavily, scornful looks no longer hurt as much, and manipulation can no longer hold you back. Because you understand that those who try to erase you are actually afraid of what you can become when you shine without limitations. This awakening will also show you that the pain of the past was not in vain. Every fall, every tear, every night you thought about giving up was actually a silent training session. September will be the time to realize that all the wounds were steps toward building your inner strength. You are not fragile because you suffered, but strong because you endured. And this strength will now become visible not only to you, but to all who tried to diminish you. True strength isn't displayed. It manifests itself in small gestures. It's being at peace when everyone expects you to explode. It's smiling when darkness believes it has destroyed you. It's moving forward without needing to announce anything. September will show that the most real power isn't the one that makes noise, but the one that remains, silent and firm, when everything else crumbles. This will be the sign that your soul has awakened to its most indestructible essence. And in this awakening, you will understand why you are being hunted, because you carry something no disguise can imitate, something no mask can hide. Your light is the greatest threat to the darkness. And when you realize this, fear disappears, because you understand that the hunt was never about your weakness, but about the strength you represent. September will be remembered as the month you stopped being simply hunted and became aware of the power that has always been within you. September won't be just another month, it will be a turning point. Everything you've seen, felt, and endured thus far has prepared you for this moment. The hunt for souls of light doesn't happen by chance. It happens because we're at a point where the truth can no longer be hidden. Dark forces will disguise themselves as never before, trying to deceive, manipulate, and imprison. But now you know, no mask lasts forever before the light. You carry that light, and that's why they try to hunt you. The call that resonates now is clear. You can no longer live as before, ignoring the signs, closing your eyes to what you feel. You must decide whether to remain easy prey or to finally embrace the power that has always existed within you. Every test, every doubt, every silence, every solitude you have faced was part of the preparation for this moment. September will be the month you understand that the darkness was never as strong as it seemed. It only exists because you have not yet fully realized its power. And when this understanding enters your heart, everything will change. Persecution will cease to be a source of fear and will become proof of your worth. You will understand that being hunted is the greatest recognition that your light is real, that your essence is disturbing, that your brilliance opens paths that darkness cannot erase. This awakening will not be just individual but collective, because when each soul of light grows stronger, an invisible network is created that unites all who resist. This is the true calling. It's not just about surviving, but about resisting in silence, about standing firm, about trusting what you feel. September will mark the beginning of a new phase, in which every conscious gesture, every choice to protect your light, will be a step beyond manipulation. Darkness may disguise itself, but it can never dwell where there is clarity. And it is your clarity that will be your greatest shield during this time. If you felt every word, it's because this call is for you. It's because your soul recognizes what's happening. So, I invite you, subscribe to the channel to continue receiving messages that strengthen your journey, because you are not alone on this path. And leave your keyword in the comments. Light. I want to see how many have actually made it this far, how many have stayed with me until the end of this revelation. Your presence is more important than you can imagine. Together, we form the resistance that darkness will never be able to erase.